Being someone who does a lot of content about Tonex software and Tonex pedal and the entire Tonex ecosystem, and putting out videos that are hopefully quite helpful to some folks to get the most out of their Tonex system, I also receive a lot of questions. Now, I also have tone models available for free on my website through ToneNet, and I also have some premium bundles that I sell through my website. And a big thank you to all of you who have purchased some and have sent me messages telling me just how much you're enjoying those. It is always wonderful to hear. But I do have the unique situation of then receiving a lot of questions about Tonex. Now, the number one question I'm getting, at least at this point, and this can change sometimes as time goes on, is what's the difference between amp and cab captures, or amp only captures, or what I sometimes refer to as direct captures. You'll see on my website, which I'll have a link to below, that I'll have a whole section just called direct captures. And what I'm referring to there are amp only captures. Today, we're going to talk about the difference between those. And I have touched on this in other videos, but I seem to still be getting the question a lot. So I wanted to do a dedicated video just to this and really break down just these two different types of captures. So within Tonex, when we create a capture, we have the ability to capture an amp and a cab together. Now, what that is going to consist of is our guitar amp, whether it's a head or combo, connected to a speaker cabinet, and we would mic up that speaker cabinet with whatever microphone of choice and signal path of choice that that microphone is going to go into. And then Tonex is going to capture that amp and how it interacts with that cabinet and speaker and that microphone, where it's placed, certain aspects of the microphone preamp, and certain aspects of even if we have a compressor in the chain or EQ in the chain. So it is going to capture all of those things. That's why it's interesting, because you could take 10 or 20 different tone model capture makers and get completely different results from the exact same amplifier just based off of their mic choice, their mic placement choice, and their signal chain choice. Now, Tonex does claim to be able to do something interesting with that. It claims to be able to just shut the cab off, and the software algorithm can kind of remove everything after the amp. Now, there's a lot of discussion online as to whether that's really accurate and whether you're getting an accurate representation of just the amp when you do that with an amp and cab capture. I'm not here to tell you one way or the other. I actually am one of those people who really enjoy amp and cab captures, but that doesn't mean I'm correct. That's just a personal preference, and everybody's going to have their own personal preference. Now, there are some folks who really want to just use an amp capture and utilize it maybe into a different power amp, into a real guitar cabinet. Or maybe they want to apply their own impulse response to it, or a third-party impulse response to it, and they want just a more pure amp tone. Well, that's where the amp only, or what I refer to as direct captures, come into the picture. So the way that one of these are done is we have to have a way to take either a line out of our guitar amp head before it hits the speaker cabinet, or our combo, and a lot of amplifiers have this. They have a line out, sometimes called a slave out, and it allows us to keep the speaker connected so that we have a load on the amp. And we can simply capture that pure direct line out, which is actually, keep in mind, going to sound really awful on its own if a speaker cab or IR is not applied to it. And I'll give you some examples shortly, utilizing a couple new DI packs I have available as of yesterday, which are of a Fender 65 Deluxe reverb reissue and a Mesa Boogie California Tweed. So we'll take a look at that and I'll demonstrate some of what I'm telling you. Now, the problem is if an amp doesn't have a line out, much like the two amps I just talked about, we will need a different solution because we do have to run our amplifier with a load on it or a speaker cabinet. So the Tonex capture box that IK Multimedia has made is the perfect solution for this. We can take a speaker output out of our amp, connect it to the Tonex capture box, and then out of the Tonex capture box, we can then run it to an actual speaker, and that's where our load will come from for the amp. So we do have to connect that speaker. I can't say that enough. Please do not come back to me and say, I did this and I damaged my amp and you didn't tell, we must always have a load. We must have a speaker connected to that amp. But it now allows us to kind of tap off of the speaker output and allow Tonex software to capture just that direct out of the amplifier. And that's how I work. I have a Tonex capture box that the fine folks at IK were kind enough to send over some months ago, and I get lots of use out of it, and it works flawlessly for this purpose. And as a bonus, it also works as a really wonderful reamp box. So again, we have the speaker output coming out of the amplifier into the amplifier in with the proper setting on the Tonex capture box. Then we take the speaker output and we connect it to our cabinet. Now this will allow us, as I mentioned, to send just the pure amp signal to Tonex for capture. And that is what an amp only or direct or DI capture actually is. It allows a theoretically purer capture of just the amp head or the amplifier, power amp and preamp sections that we can then apply, and again, the theory is more accurately apply our own speaker or impulse response to it. Now, again, this video is not about whether one is better than the other. That's going to be up to personal preference, but many folks prefer to use amp-only captures. So let's actually go now to Tonex software and take a look at the differences here and things we need to watch for. And the second question I get, I know I said number one question is, are the captures that I got off of you, are they actually direct captures? Because I see a cab on them. There's an easy answer to that question. So let's head over to Tonex software and take a look. All right, so here we are over in Tonex, and you'll notice here I have my two new bundles, my C-Tweed DI Alt Clean, and this is a direct capture, an amp-only capture based off of the Boogie California Tweed 6V6220. You'll notice here cab based on it has nothing. Remember, I'm under the tone model tab right now, not the preset tab. If I go down here, I have my Deluxe Verb DI Alt based off of Fender 65 Deluxe Reverb Reissue. And again, there's no cab based on here. Now, if we come to our preset tab, we see the preset versions of these tone models, and all of a sudden we see that there's a cab in there. So we have California Tweed, Boogie California Tweed 6V6220, cab based off a Jensen Blackbird 12, mic'd with a Royer R10 ribbon mic, and that is kind of baked into this preset. Now, here's why I do this, and this is where the confusion arises. If you've ever purchased DI presets off of me, pretty much all of them will come with a preset with a baked-in cab. That's because if I was to just deliver the tone model to somebody, let's say something like this with a little bit of edge and breakup to it, with no cab on it, and I just come up here and I'll reset the chain, you'll notice this is how this capture was actually captured. No reverb, no compression, no noise gate, no cab. You'll notice the cab is turned off, but it's going to sound like this. Now, if I deliver that to somebody, I could get some questions, and they go, why do these sound so horrendous? Well, it's because you haven't actually applied a cab to it yet. Now, if I come to my cab and I decide that maybe I'll try out the VIR feature, and maybe I'll just choose a 112 Maz, and I can come in here and I can play with the mics a little bit and say, you know, let's just do something like this. Now it sounds more like a really pushed California Tweed. Turn that cab off, and we're back to this awful sound. So it really would not be wise of anybody like myself to deliver only a tone model like this. In fact, we can't. There is no way of exporting a tone model. We have to export a preset. So what I do is I take something like this on the preset tab. I come over to the corresponding preset for what we just had here, and I have the baked-in cab that I captured a custom IR of the built-in Jensen speaker from the California Tweed amp, and it sounds like this. And as I go through my presets, You can see things sound as they should. So when you receive presets from me, you're going to come into the preset tab, you're going to right click and you're going to import them. If you notice, I could export this. It's going to export the direct tone model, and it's also going to export the preset that has the baked in cab. So when you import it, you will get a preset with the baked in cab. You can simply come over and turn the cab off if you want. It's going to obviously change the sound and not sound that great, or you could come in here and change the cab out like we did a moment ago. Which is the point. But I always like to give everybody that starting point of having some sort of custom IR included with it. So that is basically the difference here. We come to our tone model. If we come over here and hit reset chain, exit and go back into a tone model, you'll notice we just get the tone model. So if there's nothing under cab based on, we know it's a true DI tone model, but we have to look under the tone model tab, not the preset tab. If we reset our chain, leave our tone model, come back, you will see just how that was captured by default. So as I go through all of these, you'll notice these are all DI captures. Very different than if I come outside of this, and you'll notice over here, I'm still in the tone model tab. I have something else here from my classic D-Alt preset bundle, which is based off my Fuchs ODS Classic. You'll notice it's a cab baked into it based off a Celestion Vintage 30. If I go to this, you'll notice that it automatically comes up with that cab. But no reverb or compression. I could bring some reverb in. But we would obviously have to adjust. So there's the difference between an amp and cab capture. When we're on our tone model tab, it will show that there is a cab that it is based off of. But coming back over to our DI only, it'll have no cab based on. And again, we can just hit our advanced parameters, reset chain, leave our tone model, come back in, and you'll notice there is no cab there. So I hope that that clears up what the difference is between the amp and cab capture, and if a tone model that you may receive from somebody like myself is actually a DI amp only or an amp cab capture. Now let's take a look through the two new models that I have available, and you'll notice I have the C-Tweed DI Alt Clean. And I already mentioned this is the Boogie California Tweed 6V6 220 amp. And I also baked into the preset only, not the tone model, but the preset only, a custom IR based off of a Jensen Blackbird 12, mic'd with a Royer R10. And I have everything from very clean, push 1, push 2, push 3. And then I have kind of a novelty tone model in there called Cranked, which is that amp maxed out, master, and on its 1 watt setting and its gain control all the way up. So let's take a listen to these. I'm playing my Sir Telly, Classic T Telly. So here it is on this cleanest setting, and this amp is designed to be very much like an old Fender Tweed amp. So some really beautiful, beautiful tones. Let's go to push 1. Push 2 back on the bridge pickup. Just see that the level of gain just gets progressively higher. And the push 3, kind of the highest level of really usable gain. So really nice stuff. Now here's the kind of extra bonus novelty cranked setting where this amp just sounds like it's ready to blow up. So that can actually be kind of useful for certain situations. Now, moving on to our Deluxe reverb, same sort of thing here. I have 6 tone models here, and I actually just used the same custom IR that I captured from the Jensen Blackbird cabinet because it works so nicely with this. And really, anybody wanting to use an amp-only direct capture probably doesn't really care too much about the included IR, even though I like to give a decent one with each one, just because they're probably going to be running it through a real speaker cabinet of their own IR. But what I did here with the Deluxe reverb is I captured both vibrato channel and normal channel, and I have clean, push 1 and push 2, 3 different levels of gain. So on the vibrato channel, we're going to get a little more gain and a little brighter tone. So here is the Deluxe Verb DI clean on the vibrato channel. Comparing that to the normal channel clean tone. So really nice stuff. Move on to the first level of push on the normal channel. First level of push on the vibrato channel. Moving on to the final level of push, normal channel, and this is push 2. Finally, vibrato channel. And that's all the tones we get in those 2 different brand new bundles that are available at the link below at my website. All right, so there you have it. That's a quick explanation. I hope it was a quick explanation anyways. I hope it was a concise explanation, an understandable one at least, of the difference between amp and cab captures and amp only or direct captures. It's very important to distinguish between the two of them. It's also very important to be aware of whether we're on our tone model tab or whether we're on our preset tab. As you can see, that cab on or off is going to make a huge difference. And it's also going to make a huge difference whether it's baked into the tone model where we have to disengage it ourselves, or whether it's actually not going to be part of that tone model at all. So if you have any questions, please leave them below. I will do my best to get to them. I am going to leave you with the 2 demos for my 2 brand new C-Tweed DI Ultimate and Deluxe DI Ultimate tone model bundles, which are available at my website. The link's below. I also, for anybody who's really interested in direct models, I have a Volume 1 and a brand new released Volume 2 Direct Complete bundle, which is a huge number of my direct captures of many different styles of amps available at a discounted price if you're so inclined and you want to grab that. So I'll have links to everything below. I hope you guys enjoyed these demos I'm about to play you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video, share it with anybody you think would get some use or enjoyment of watching it. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell notification to get notified when I put new content out. I'll be back really soon with some more. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in. Ciao for now.